Hey, David, welcome to the VenturePOP community. We're going to be talking to you today a little bit about the work you do with the Connectivity Ninja and how people can use those tools and tricks and things like that you have a strategy for connecting with more people, not only at VenturePOP, but like in daily life and all things like that. But anyway, welcome to the community.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Great to see you again after our little adventure this summer.
Yeah, so David and I met at World Domination Summit, which I think a lot of the VenturePOP people know that I go to every year. And we had met last year.
Yeah.
Briefly on the street. Why don't you tell the story a little bit?
Well, it's so funny. I'm walking down the street and, we're, I think, day two. And I see this young woman and you had on the lanyard, but you were dressed in like workout gear and carrying this huge pizza. And I'm like, how does this work? Like, who works out and eats a pizza? So I had to ask the question. And of course, that introduced us. And you're like, I just flew in. I'm tired. I'm hungry. I'm going to sleep. I'll see you tonight. And sure enough, we grabbed a beer and introduced ourselves properly that night. But the introduction certainly stuck in my mind.
Yeah, that was funny. It was like not even close to the conference. I guess we were staying in the same area and we both had to walk. And so anyway, it was like literally in the middle of the street, and I had gone on one of those scavenger adventures throughout the city with WDS, and I was like, I am starving.
Yeah, another WDS moment. I mean, there's so many, but that's a good one. So no, it was great. And then this year we got to connect again and really find a lot of common interests in the work we do, which was really, really cool. So yeah, really thrilled to be here and talking to your community today for sure.
Cool. So why don't you tell VenturePOP a little bit about like what you do and with the Connectivity Ninja, what's the whole story behind that?
Yeah, great. Well, first of all, I should say I'm a Canadian, so don't hate me for that. I've been in hospitality my entire career, actually. And what's interesting is I was a very poor student. I didn't graduate high school, and I went to work in kitchens. I became a chef, actually, at an early age. I took culinary school. But something was really missing for me, and it was that connection with people. And so I ultimately went and worked in the front of the house and found my niche, I really loved dealing with people, connecting with people. I started traveling at a young age, and that just gave me more opportunity to meet people from foreign cultures, other travelers. And I just developed this real passion for people, what drives them, what moves them, and how do we help them? And this sort of built into a foray of learning a lot about personal development. I've read like 200 plus books. I've been to every course you can imagine, Tony Robbins and all. And it was all for the one thing, is like what makes people tick. And the interesting thing is what makes people tick comes down to quite often other people. So one thing that I've learned is that everything we want to achieve in our life, be it personal or professional, somebody else has done. Quite often it's somebody else that's in the same room as us, whether that room be standing in line at Starbucks, waiting at a bus stop, or in a conference room with a couple of hundred people. But unless we bring those people together, unless we create a connection between those two people, they're never going to be able to share that information and support each other. And it was through this work as a corporate consultant, which I did for many years, as a business owner. I owned a restaurant bar, $1 million property at a ski resort for 8 years. So all that work, I kept coming down to this, distilling everything down to this one common thing. How do we bring these people together? So about 3 years ago, I decided to step away from corporate life and create what I call the Connectivity Ninja. And they're basically simple strategies on how to bring people together in their life, in their work, in their personal life, so they can share their stories and support each other to get to the next level. Because that's really what it's about. It's like, how do we get to the next level? And often the answer is standing right next to us in another person.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So like when we first started VenturePOP, this is now coming up on like over 3 years ago, there were some, locally, there were some business networking events and things like that. But, I know you and I talked a little bit before we kind of pressed record here, networking is just like no one wants to go to a networking event, and you really how to differentiate between like networking and connectivity. So can you talk a little bit? I mean, I feel like we kind of focus on connectivity at VenturePOP, And I'd love for people to even be able to amp that up a little bit more when we kind of like scoot through the 4 steps. But can you just touch on that for a little bit? Like the difference between like networking and connectivity, so people can kind of like split those two apart?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, as we talked before, I mean, one of the things that networking is such a filthy word to me. And I don't even say that with jest. It's such a bad word. We don't want to network. Networking is done with our heads. It's like, it's saying, you need to go out and do this. And what networking generally means, it's somebody jamming a business card at you saying, I want something from you. Because we go to these networking events, you know, and they're often big rooms riddled with, you know, half-drunk people spilling their rum and cokes going, here's my card. Who the heck is this person, right? Connecting is a heart-based, or let me show you, a heart-based movement. And I mean, I'm sure we've talked about, I run a connectivity community here in Victoria. We have almost 1,500 members. We meet twice a month, and all we do is bring people together to discuss their stories. And we have 2 rules. Number 1 is you're not allowed to ask people what they do for work. You have to ask what they do for fun, what their passion is. And the second one is, if you do want to connect with them and hand them a business card, it has to be done at the end of the night. And the reason for that is at the end of the night, by discussing their passions, their dreams, their goals, what drives them, you're going to meet that person from their heart, not from, I'm an accountant, give me a call sometime. We make friends with people, when we truly connect with people on a heart-based level, we have that connection that makes us want to be with them, want to talk to them, want to be friends with them. And hey, by the way, use their skill set professionally or personally. And that's why connection is so much better. I would take 3 solid connections over 100 networks any day.
Yeah.
Because they're coming from a base of respect, of understanding, and of personal mutual admiration versus I need a plumber.
Right.
That's why connection is so much more important. And just one of the reasons we're talking today is a lot of my keynote speaking on the Connectivity Ninja, and particularly the 4 secrets, is done at the beginning of conferences, because challenges, people go to these great conferences, they're surrounded by literally hundreds of people that are there for the same reason as them.
Right.
But nobody reaches out, and they leave. And a week later, they realize that they were at this great conference with like-minded people, and they talked to the same 2 people they arrived with all day. And that is a shame. That's a total waste. That's why the secrets of the Connectivity Ninja are so important.
Yeah, I'm super excited to dive into these 4 steps. So one thing is that I love that you just kind of mentioned, just to touch on that for a second, is that, you know, as event organizers, you can do all you possibly can to like personally connect people and encourage people to connect and things like that. So there's like that type of connectivity. But then at some point, you know, the experience is built for you. The activities are there that are meant to encourage connection. But essentially, it falls on you to kind of make these connections. And then my other thing was, connections last so much longer than networking. I know they're like a lot more valuable too, but like you and I truly connected at WDS 2 years ago. And like, here we are talking now, and you'll be helping the VenturePOP community. And, you know, personally, we keep in touch and things like that. And so it's just like, I just totally agree that it's just a different level. And if you're taking the time and money and energy to invest in going to a conference, you shouldn't skip these next 4 steps that we're going to go over.
Absolutely. It's funny you mentioned that. So when we met on the street, and I made that little joke about the pizza, imagine if I'd said, instead of like, what's going on with that? I'd said, by the way, I'm a professional speaker. Here's my card, and walked away.
It would have been like an eye roll, you know? Like, oh, okay.
Who's this guy, right? Well, that's what networking does, only instead of being on the street in Portland with a pizza, it's in a room full of 400 people. So that's why the connection is so important. So you asked about the 4 steps. So, you know, I know we're a little tough on time here, so why don't we discuss the 4 steps briefly, and then we can add more later, you know, in content. The very first one is really, it's pretty simple. And by the way, there's no new material here. The difference is we're here to remind people of the importance of these steps. So the first one is called say hello first. Okay, now the key word there is first, because when you say hello first, you take ownership of creating that relationship. You become the conduit, right? When you say hello first, you are the leader in that situation. Because how many times do we have a challenge in our life and we need somebody to help us solve it. But we're probably standing next to that person in Starbucks, but instead of talking to them, we're busy on our phone, right? We're sort of barking out orders, but we're ignoring the people around us. What if the person next to us at Starbucks or at the bus stop or at the conference or just in line somewhere knows our the solution to our problem? What if we know the solution to their problem? Unless somebody creates that relationship, it's not going to happen. Say hello first says you take ownership of creating that relationship. So if you want to grow your world, it's your responsibility, and it's as easy as saying hello first. Now, does that mean every person you talk to is going to solve the world's problems? Of course not. But what it does mean is that it's going to give you that opportunity to meet the people you need to meet. And what's really interesting is in a world of social media, people are more unsocial and unhappier than ever. It's so true.
Yeah.
They feel more isolated. As you know, you had just got back from holiday. I just got back. I was in Turkey, and it was crazy. The people I was traveling with, I look at all their pictures that they're posting online now, and they're doing these amazing things, but I sat with them for 2 weeks, and they're miserable.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's so always interesting to see that.
Telling the world that everything's great, but we're not sharing our true stories. Saying hello first creates connection to share true, authentic stories. So,
and at a conference, I know it's a little bit more intimidating because it's more people, but they're all people on the same mission looking to do the same thing. So it's almost easier if you just kind of get over the concept of like, oh, there's all these people I don't know and all this good stuff. So I just wanted to pop that in there too.
Absolutely. And the fact is you're right. The moment you put on that lanyard or walk through that door, you are on the same page as those people. And as soon as you think, and by the way, here's the big secret, you're like, oh, they don't want to talk to me. Oh, I'm a little scared. Everyone feels that same way.
Yes.
Take control. Be the one that steps up and said, hey, it's nice to meet you. My name's David. What brought you here today? Whatever. Just open that door. Say hello first, and it will open your world. And not only at a conference, in your everyday life.
Right.
So that's number one. Number two is pretty simple. Once you have created a small opening, you're having a little chat, you found out a little about somebody, find out how you can support them. Now, ask how you can help, because when you offer to help people, what you're really saying to them is, your mission matters to me. You matter to me. You're interesting. How can I support you? And this doesn't mean if they say, hey, I'm moving house this weekend, you have to go rent a truck and spend the whole weekend moving them. It's not like that, unless you want to. But it's really more like, wow, you're interested in conferences. I have a friend that's a conference planner. I'm going to send you their website. Oh, you're interested in learning how to make this. I've got a book that I read. May I send you the title? Anything to say, hey, I have an idea that can support you. If you really find a connection with this person and you want to create an introduction to a friend. I mean, I'm doing this morning. I've got a friend who is he's an international consultant, and he's moving into an educational space. I've got another friend who runs educational conferences. I'm putting them together. I'm going to get an email. Both of them think I'm a rock star because I introduced them. And it's not because I'm a rock star. I just want them both to be successful. I like them both as people. Why wouldn't I put them together? So the second step is find out how you can support them, even in the smallest way, and then offer that help. It just means the world to people.
Yeah. It also takes the pressure off of you coming up with conversation, so that it almost kind of circles back to number one too.
Yeah, absolutely. Big time. Yeah.
Cool.
So that's number two. Number three is pretty good. Number three sometimes takes a little time to implement. But once you said hello, you created a connection, you've offered some support, let them know what you need, because, life is not a one-way street. We all need things too, right? Even you and I doing this, I'm able to support you by offering this. You're able to support me by letting more people know about the Connectivity Ninja and the kind of work I do. So it's a really good thing for me to be able to say, hey, I want to help you, but you're also helping me, because this is the more I can get my word out. Let me just put this out for everybody, the Connectivity Ninja, right? The more we can get our word out, the better it is. So I let you know, hey, if I can do this, this is helpful for me too. So let people know what you need. Don't demand help, of course. I need you to introduce me to this person.
And would you recommend somebody going to a conference with maybe a few things in mind? Or, I mean, I guess that's why you would go to a conference.
Well, exactly. You're there
Yeah.
because you need things, but it's very important never to mistake 2 and 3 or get them backwards. You know, and I've been down this road. I have a friend of mine who plays life at a pretty high level, and I met another speaker once, and he found out that I was quite friendly with this gentleman, and he said, "Can you introduce me?" And I was trying to be a big shot, and I'm like, "Yeah, of course I can. He's my friend." Well, I introduced this guy, and of course, the guy who wanted to be introduced, you know, charged his way into this guy's event, immediately said, you know, "I'm a friend with David's, and he said that you'd help me do this, this, and this." And the guy goes, "Well, you know, I don't know if I can do that," but he called me up immediately. He goes, "You know that guy you sent me?" And I went, "Yeah, I'm sorry." He goes, "Yeah, don't ever do that again."
Yeah.
What was tough about that was for the wrong reasons, I'll be honest, I was trying to feel like, "Oh yeah, I'm friends with that guy. Let me hook you up." I kind of spent some of my political capital very poorly. I mean, we're still great friends and we still do work together, but that guy charged in and demanded, you know, "Here's what I need you to do for me." Had he spent a time with me and said, "How can I support you or grow your group or can I be a part of that?" then I would have been way more open to giving him that invitation. So it's very important that when we're at a conference, we don't immediately say to somebody, "I need this from you." That comes a little bit down the road. You have to establish the relationship. Absolutely.
I like that a lot. I like that a lot. That's really important.
It is important because otherwise it'll backfire. Promise.
Right. Because you're trusting like other people with like the way that you would handle things. And if it's like a personal recommendation and they handle it kind of funny, I mean, that's just like a reflection on you. And
you know, there's a term for that. You know what they call it?
What's that?
Networking. It's true.
Yes.
"Hi, nice to meet you. I want this from you."
Right.
That's networking. "Hi, nice to meet you. How can I support you?" "Great, we're friends. Listen, if you have any ideas for this, I could use your help." Connecting. Very different.
Yes. Okay. Love that distinction.
Yeah. And then
let's have it in number 4. Yeah.
Number 4 should be followed after step 1, 2, and 3. And it's very, very simple. And very, very sadly, it's where most people fall down more than anything. It's following up.
Yeah.
It's following up. You know, how many times have we been at conferences at WDS and people say, "Oh my gosh, I'd love to meet you. I want to hear more about this. It's so exciting. It's a really busy time. Can we get together later?" Absolutely. "And here's my card. Why don't you contact me?" "Oh, it's so exciting." And 4 weeks go by and you haven't heard a word. So what was so exciting in the moment has lost its thrust over time. And who wins there? Nobody.
Right.
So if this connection is very, very important to you, or you feel that you can contribute something to this person's life, follow up immediately. I actually have a little system. Whenever I go to an event where I know I'm going to meet people, I always wear a shirt with a pocket here. And that when somebody gives me a card, as inevitably we all, and you know this, it happens to you too, we get like 10 cards that night. If I truly want to connect with that person, we've made an agreement, "Listen, we need to talk later. I'd love to support you on this," or whatever, it goes in that pocket. The people that just go, "Yeah, give me a call," and I'm not that interested in, I say thank you, and it goes in my pants pocket.
Oh, now we have a tell on you.
Yeah, well, they know. I tell them right up front, "Hey, you know which pocket's going in."
I love it.
And the reason being is, you know, when I get home that evening, or back to my hotel usually, out of this pocket come these cards and they go on my computer. And before I get up the next day, I make sure I touch base with every single one of these people.
I like that.
And I'll tell you why I do that. And it's quite simple. It's because, and it's usually very quick. It's like, let's just say to you, "Hey, Christy, great meeting you tonight. I'm really excited about talking again in the future after the conference. Now we've touched base, tag you're it, David." And I send it. And I do that 10 times. And what's ironic is the next day, people always come up to me and go, "I got your email. I'm sorry, I haven't had time to reply." And I go, "You're not supposed to reply." But now we're connected. So now either one of us are wondering, like, where's that card or what was that guy's name? It's on our email account for next Tuesday. We can go, "Oh, I can now reply. Hey, David, wow, that was a fun conference. Let's talk next Tuesday." But if we just shove them in our pocket or wander around and we forget to follow up, we're going to miss all that good stuff we discussed at the conference. So, you know, the 4 steps really quickly are: always say hello first. Take the leadership position. Be friendly. Number 2, when you make that connection and you feel you can offer something, offer that support. Let people know how you can help them. Number 3, once you've sort of built that relationship a little bit, you've made that connection, let them know, hey, I've got some needs here too. Do you know a good web designer? Have you read a book on this? Can you recommend something? And number 4, whatever you do, don't just let it all dissipate. Follow up quickly, just the initial follow-up, and then later. So you can imagine how just incorporating these 4 simple steps into not just conferences, but daily life can bring all the right people into our lives, right?
Yeah, for sure. I really love the follow-up part because that's something I don't have a little system for. And actually, before you even said your little system, like I kind of thought of one too. I was like, instead of putting them all in one big stack, that I love that tip. And, but it's so easy to, once you get home, to be caught up and like, to get tied up and getting caught up because you've been out of town for 4 days or whatever it is. And so I love while you're in that zone and you met them that day or the day before or something like really close together, you just shoot them a quick one-liner. I love that.
Yeah. And, we've come home, I can't speak for you, of course, but for myself, I've come home from a few conferences quite late at night and have been with a few cocktails. But I know, I can't speak for you. Because you're in bed by 10 o'clock every night. And or is it 10 o'clock in the morning? But it really is no effort, as with many things, just to go, you know what, suck it up and just do this. It's 10 cards, it's 8 cards, just get them out and then it's done. And it's always funny when people say to me the next day, I haven't had a chance to respond. And I'm quick to say, you're not supposed to till next Tuesday, but now we're connected. And that makes people go like, oh, that makes them feel special, right? It's like, we can do this later, but in 3 days after we do all this other cool stuff.
Right.
And then we can do that.
Sweet. Well, I love all of these like tips and I love the steps. Like it's almost like in order. You kind of have to do them in order or they kind of get screwed up like we kind of talked about. And so you and I are going to kind of get together and you said you might be able to kind of like amp up some of these little tips with like a little bit more of like an article for each one so that people can kind of review them before they go to the conference and make the most out of VenturePOP or any other conference or like you said, like everyday life, just kind of get in the habit of doing these steps so that you're able to connect with people on a more regular basis because most of us are individual business owners and working alone. And the more people you have around you or that you can call on for references or call on for a favor or this or that is, or, actively help is just kind of where a lot of the business thrives. And it's really what you need.
And to add to that, the people that you can support, because really that's where it comes from, right? I mean, if the moment we offer and say to people, hey, we're on the same team. One of the things that's been real, like I've been a professional speaker I've been professionally speaking, just speaking for about 4 years, but I've been speaking publicly to large groups for about 20 years now. And one of the things I really learned this when I did my TED Talk, is that there's no ego with the speakers, that's not true. Some speakers have egos, but the majority that I ran into have very little ego. It's not like, oh my gosh, you're speaking at that group, but you're not speaking at this group, or I'm not. People are like, how do I support you? Let me connect you. I did my TED Talk my TEDx talk in 2015. And some of the strongest connections that I've made are both people that I recommended who have become TEDx speakers and people that have also spoken. Some have way higher views than mine. Some have lower views than mine. None of it matters. We're all there as the community to support each other. And in turn, what we get back is so much bigger. Like the world has grown exponentially by saying, how do we support each other? And that's really what these 4 steps are designed to do. Not just, again, at conferences, but in life. It's like, how can I help you? You're having a trouble with this. I'm having a trouble with that. Let's get together and support each other. And when you do that, you also know you're not alone, because the one thing about being a solopreneur, as you are and I am, and we have this, is it gets lonely sometimes. As much as we put on our brave faces, we sit at home in dark rooms in our computers and we bust our asses trying to put out content, trying to make the right connections. So when you know you're not the only one, when you know people have your back, it's a much happier place to be.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I feel like that's a really great place to end, like mic drop kind of thing.
Mic drop. I will follow up with some articles for you on the
Great.
4 steps on how I've learned them.
Love it.
And I really want to say thank you for the opportunity to engage with the VenturePOP crowd. It's fantastic, and I'm really excited for your event.
Yeah, we're excited to have you, and I think our audience is gonna like just love kind of having that leg up right before they enter into like a room full of people that they don't know and feel more confident about that. So thanks so much for meeting me today on the internet and sharing your tips with our people.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. I'm just actually redoing my Connectivity Ninja website, but
Yeah.
if people want to reach me, I'm sure you can give them a link to my own site, which is davidknappfisher.com. Talks a little bit about my speaking, but stay tuned for the new Connectivity Ninja website, and of course the 4 blog posts that we can let people know how to make these things work for them.
Yeah, we'll be sure to link up that interview and the articles to follow, all to circle back to David so you guys can connect with him as well.
Sounds good. Christy, great to see you as always.
You
Welcome.
too. Thanks so much.
Boom.
Bye.